You're awesome. You've done so much in your life. People look up to you, people revere you. You're a leader. Everyone knows it except you. If that's true, you have imposter syndrome, and this is for you. This is all about an action plan to dispel your imposter syndrome. And I'm coming out swinging today. Like, I'm fired up. Like, imposter syndrome makes me mad, like physically mad. Like, the Kool-Aid guy, I'm gonna be like, ugh, punk, go through the window, go through the wall and be like, oh yeah, just to put an end to imposter syndrome, to finally be like, get off me, brah. You know what I mean? So I'm coming out swinging today. As much as a 43-year-old bald white guy who's also a dad and tells dad jokes can, I'm coming out swinging. So today we're going to talk about what is imposter syndrome. What does it mean if it's affecting you? How it's tricking your brain because it's a lie. And last, we'll spend most of the time on how you can create an action plan. A lot of people like to talk about imposter syndrome because it's super relatable, but they don't tell you exactly what to do. So I'm going to tackle it from a bunch of different ways that I help my clients, and a bunch of different ways from different developmental stages, psychological theories, and all that kind of stuff. So you can take home something today and start implementing it to get that thing off your back, because you need to see how awesome you are, how you impact the world, how you are impacting yourself and families and people you don't even know. Your voice needs to be heard. This one's for you. So, first of all, what the heck is imposter syndrome? It's not an actual diagnosis. So, if you're worried about not talking about imposter syndrome because you don't want to be labeled or have some sort of mental health diagnosis, you are in luck. It's not in the DSM 5, sorry for using acronyms and jargon. That's the diagnostic statistical model. I think it's what it's called. Anyway, it's like the Bible for mental illness. You're going to find mention of it in there, but it's not an actual diagnosis. But what it is it's a psychological pattern, meaning thoughts repeating itself. So it's something that you think a lot. Notice it's not a behavioral pattern, it's a psychological pattern, meaning these are thoughts that you have a lot. And these thoughts focus on self doubt. And we're going to talk a little bit about the internal versus the external world. So you have self doubt, meaning that the external world is saying that you are awesome and you have all these achievements and accomplishments and awards and kudos and all that kind of stuff. Internally, you feel like you don't. You don't deserve any of those things. Or even worse, that you eventually are going to get found out and exposed as a fraud. So you feel vulnerable going through life and through your career. Last, this is mostly prevalent in people who are high achievers. Imagine that. You do a lot, you feel like you don't deserve it. And it's also highly prevalent in people who are in high stress environments. So when you have to make a quick decision, what we know about mental health and stress is they don't mix. Mental health is kind of like a little fire that you try to keep like contained, and stress is like pouring gasoline onto that fire. Stress and your mental health do not mix. So you need to find ways to calm yourself if you are in a lot of high stress environments. Now, what does it mean if you are someone who has these psychological patterns of self doubt? Well, it means that you are more likely to experience diagnosed anxiety or depression or burnout. And so, what you're doing is you're kind of like starting a pathway here towards some bigger problems. And so you've got to pay attention to what you're doing. This can't be automatic. You can't just chalk it up to that's the way it is, or I'll never get over it, or I'll just keep working harder. No, 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 because that leads to bigger problems. Anxiety is literally feeling stuck without taking action. So if you're feeling stuck or like a fraud, if you feel like you're not good enough, you've got to take action on that. Next here, your successes are external. Meanwhile, your failures are internal. Does this happen to you? Something is awesome and you're like, oh, that was luck, or that was the team, or we timed the market perfectly, or it just fell in our lap, or anyone could have done this. But when there's a failure, when you're losing money, when you're not having leads come in, when you miss something in your underwriting, or you don't have any cash flow, you're feeling broke, hey, that's on me. Of course this was going to happen. I'm a failure. Of course this was going to happen. I'm not good enough anyway. I was just playing a game that was over my head. You ever say that to yourself? I'm in over my head. Those are the precursors for anxiety, for depression, for burnout, and you're right in the thick of imposter syndrome. Also, what it means is you tend not to celebrate little wins, big wins, milestones. It doesn't even matter. Earlier this week, I wrote about Barbara Corcoran. She's on Shark Tank. Awesome, awesome giver, really cool lady, and an awesome entrepreneur. One of my friends interviewed her, and he said that she doesn't feel like she deserved anything. When she sold her first company for $66 million, $66 million, instead of popping a bottle, buying an island, taking a week off, no, she had lunch at her desk and started working on the next project because she didn't feel like she was worthy of it. She felt like everyone was going to expect more. Everyone was going to doubt her. Everyone was going to say, oh, you're a fraud or you got lucky. So she was out there to prove people wrong. And that spite drives a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's awesome, but it also drives a lot of entrepreneurs to burnout, to addiction, to infidelity, to living a life that they don't want to live. I don't want to see you do that. Last, what happens is you tend to overwork, over prepare, take on too much. If you hear the word grind it out, or if you think the word, I've got to put my head down and just grind through this, that's imposter syndrome talking. So you've got to take a pause, figure out psychologically what you're trying to do. Next, how does it trick you? Imposter syndrome is a lie. It's a lie. It's not true. So why do you think that you're not worthy? Well, it could be because your brain's dumb. Don't worry about it. I'm not fighting you. My brain's dumb too. Our brains are dumb. Brains are dumb. By that, I mean they take the easy route. And so if you have any sort of fear of failure, they're going to not take a look at themselves. Your brain's not going to be like, oh, bro, that's on us. Let's change. Instead, no, they're going to do these little shortcuts, heuristics, we call it, or schemas sometimes about, hey, let's push this off towards something else because we don't want to deal with this. And so normally, if you have imposter syndrome, you have a fear of failure. And what happened is this is rooted back in post-operational thought. So think back to when you were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, middle school years. What was your self-image then? If your self-image was, I can't do this, a teacher told me I can't, a coach told me I won't, I'm in over my head, they put me in gifted and talented, I don't know why, or I don't get this stuff, I'm more into music than I am into math, or I've got ADHD, schools aren't meant for me. Any of those things, if you didn't mix with your environment in middle school, that's probably where your self-image is right now. And so if you have created tons of businesses, sold a business for $66 million, if you have 50,000 followers, if you're making 40 grand a month, if you own 200 units of an apartment building, you still feel like you're a fraud because you felt like you were a fraud then. And your brain is dumb, so it thinks that you're still back then. Even though there's a bunch of external, like stimulus or information, evidence that, hey, you're a huge achiever, your brain is like, nope, we're actually not. We're this. We're bums. We're no good. We can't do it. People know that we're bums. We're just playing this game. We're just tricking people until they figure it out. That's what your brain is doing. If you've ever tried to reason with someone who has different political views than you, you know exactly what I'm getting at. Our brains are stuck in what we believe despite all sorts of external evidence of the contrary. Because our brain says, hey, if there's dissonance, we're siding with us. Cognitive dissonance is there's two things that don't agree in your brain. Which one wins? Easy. In less than 50 milliseconds, that's less than 1/5 of a blink of an eye, your brain has already made up its mind. The brain wins. The external's wrong. So we quickly label the external as wrong or bad or uninformed or dumb or having poor morals. And we say our internal brain is correct, which is how imposter syndrome manifests itself into adulthood. Because all the external, your brain is like, nope, that's not true. We know that we're bums. And so that cognitive dissonance is quickly eliminated through little tricks. And what we need to do is we need to look at little tricks that we can do in return to play that same game and beat imposter syndrome. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to beat imposter syndrome. 3 are like kind of bigger ideas or whatever things that you can do, implement over time as you choose. The next 3 are going to be all about things you can do today. You can do 15 minutes after watching this or 10 minutes after watching this, because I want to get you thinking about this in long terms, but also taking action right away. Don't sit with this crap. Don't put up with this crap anymore. You wouldn't take lies from someone else, so why are you taking lies from yourself? It's time to stand up, and today's the day. So the first thing you got to do, talk about it. Talk about it, baby. You know that song, Funky Town? Talk about it, talk about it. Now I'm singing falsetto and alive here. Hey, by the way, that song is about Minneapolis. So we're coming at you live from Funky Town right now. But back to imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, like most anxieties, hate it when you talk about them. So if you talk to anybody, it doesn't matter if they know you well, it doesn't matter if they know your business, can relate, not relate, whatever. Talk about it. I feel like a fraud. I feel like I'm going to get found out. I feel like I keep getting lucky. Like I need to keep proving something to myself. The simple act of saying it out loud gets it out of your brain. That internal external fight is now like taken to another level because it's both internal and external. Deal with that, brain. So talk about it to get it out there. Next, let's look at imposter syndrome in terms of levels of competency. So we know that there's 4 levels of competency depending on how much you know and how much you know, how much you're aware of that. So level 1 of competency, you are totally unconscious to what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Everything seems easy. Hey, here's a get-rich scheme. Hey, you can do this, make $10,000 a month in 3 hours from your bed. Those schemes are preying on people's level 1. They don't know what they don't know. We're past that. Next, we're on to level 2, which is you know what you don't know. So you're starting to learn information about your job, your career, about investing, whatever it might be. And you're like, hey, things are kind of hard, but I'm working at it and I'm figuring it out. I'm not quite ready for the big time, but I'm still learning. And this is good. Things are good. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm digging in for the long haul. Great. Imposter syndrome and burnout both live in level 3, which is where you know what you know and you're good at it and you're ready for the big leagues, but it's not second nature. You're still thinking about what you don't know a lot. So you're doing investments, you're underwriting deals, you're working with clients, but you don't have your systems perfectly down. Things aren't automatic. You're not like at some swim up bar in Bali, like on your phone while your team is taking care of things for you. You haven't achieved that level yet. You're still kind of going through it. You're learning what works, what doesn't work, what you're good at, what you're not good at, all that kind of stuff. You're very conscious that you're doing the thing and you're out there, but you feel exposed because you're constantly thinking about how you can get better. You've got to go through that. Level 4 is you're awesome at it, You're doing the thing, you're out there, but it's second nature. You don't need to think about it because you've done all the mistakes. You've corrected all the failures. You've taken in all the feedback, positive and negative, and changed your systems up so you have things automated or operated, or a team is going for you. So you've got to, in level 3 is where imposter syndrome and burnout lives. You've got to stick with it. And most importantly, what you've got to do is you've got to get through to level 4 as quickly as you can. And the way to do that is to keep doing the thing. Don't shy away from it. Do the thing and teach the thing. Teach other people how to do it. Because what's the best way to learn? To teach. So if you teach other people about it, you will be exposed yourself to what you don't know. And therefore, you can fix that before it becomes a failure, because failures are bad, right? Because failures are, oh, of course, I'm terrible. It's just another notch in the I'm an internal failure thing. And we're trying to get away from that. So if you are at level 3 competency, and I'm guessing 90% of you out there are, keep at it. Do the thing. Don't run from the thing, because you'll go to the next thing, you'll get to level 3, and imposter syndrome will show up again. It's a psychological pattern. You can't run from a pattern. It's going to be there no matter what. So you got to fight through it to get to level 4. Teach, do the thing. That's how you do it. Next, let's look at our 3 needs as humans: validation, recognition, connection. Validation meaning I'm awesome. Recognition meaning, hey, someone saw that I did a great job. And connection, I feel like I belong here. What we know about imposter syndrome is, number one, validation is way out of whack, right? It's a lie that invalidates us. Things are good, but we don't feel that way. And we also know that recognition isn't coming in either. I should say it's coming in, but we're not hearing it. Hey, you did a great job. Here's an award. Here's a promotion. Here's a ton of money. Here's $66 million for your business. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to keep working on it. I'll have a salad at my desk for lunch, and I'll just keep working on the next one. Recognition, or I should say the relationship that you have with recognition, way out of whack. So we're going to focus on number 3, connection. We got to boost connection. Why? Because people are going to get to know you internally, and of course they're going to see your external. So they're going to be able to see some of the lies that you tell yourself. And not only that, it's good to be around other people who can see this happening and help you out, who can consistently tell you you're doing awesome, you're doing great. Wow, I can't believe you did this. So in the VRC model, validation, recognition, connection, validation is out, recognition's out. So we're boosting connection. So get into a mastermind group. Get into a community of people who keep each other accountable, and not just to tasks, but to clear and wealthy mental health as well. Because you can get all the tasks done, but if you don't know how to pause or shut down or feel good about yourself, that's not sustainable, and that's not a life you want. All right, so let's go on to 3 things that you can do today, right now, when you're done watching this video. First of all, what you can do is this is going to take you 6 minutes. Okay, so when you're done with this video, take 6 minutes. Do this activity. For the first 4 minutes, you're going to write down all your accomplishments from the past 5 years. Everything that you've accomplished in the past 5 years, just off the top of your head, things you've done. Ran a marathon, canoed the boundary waters. You started a business. You started another business. You had a business fail and then got back up and started a business. You purchased $1 million of rental property. You purchased $10 million of rental property. You had a kid. You had 3 kids. You had 5 kids. You fostered a kid. You are a coach for cross-country skiing. You are on a softball team, whatever that might be. Spend 4 minutes just like brain dumping all of your accomplishments. When you're done with that, log on to LinkedIn, go to the very first person that comes up on your feed, and that person's going to be prominent because they're on the top of your feed. And the LinkedIn algorithm says, hey, this is an important person. Now imagine that the person who's at the top of your feed that you're looking at did exactly what you wrote down that you accomplished, and they shared it, what would you think? If they had kids, if they were a coach, if they had purchased $10 million of real estate, if they had successfully come back from a business failure, if they have a healthy marriage, if they were able to take a vacation to Paris, if they took a class on cooking of French cuisine, hey, that sounds good. Whatever it was, if they did it, what would you think? We're starting to get some of this internal, external dissonance happening. So what I'm guessing is you're going to start to feel like, hey, if that person did what I did, I would be like, whoa, I'm really in awe of them. And I would feel imposter syndrome next to them. I would feel social comparison next to them. But the thing is, it's you. So you would have imposter syndrome next to you. There's a mind F for you, I guess. Next, what you're going to do, 5 people. We're working on connection here. Validation, recognition, connection. Working on a connection here. And validation, recognition through the back door. So you're going to email 5 people you trust. They could be family, friends, colleagues, peers, whoever. 5 people you trust to tell you the truth. And you're going to write them a very simple email. Just one line. When you think of me and my career, what comes to mind? That's it. See if you hear failure. See if you hear letdown. See if you hear fraud. Or see if you hear inspirational, leader, inspiring. That's the same as inspirational. Did I say leader? Good stuff. You're going to find good stuff there, is what I'm trying to say. Because other people are seeing it, and they don't have to live in your brain that tells you 35,000 nasty lying thoughts every day. So ask people, 5 people, email them. When you think of my career, what comes to mind? There you go. And last but not least, here's one. We're going to do a little sandwich about your imposter syndrome. We're going to go positive, negative, positive. You ever heard that? When you give feedback, give positive feedback, then the negative feedback, then more positive feedback. So that it's sandwiched in. It's easier to take. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to wire some positivity around your imposter syndrome. Our brains are plastic. They can change over time if we're intentional about it. We're going to be intentional here. So we are going to have our neurons fire together and wire together with gratitude and with humor. So grab a notebook or pens. Post-its. Grab some Post-its, also made in Minnesota. So anyways, grab some notebook, grab a notebook, Post-it, whatever it could be, something where you write down, put it in your bedstand next to where you go to bed at night. Before you turn the light off at night, you're going to write 3 things. Very simple. It'll take you 1, maybe 2 minutes. Very simple. Number 1, something you're grateful for today. Gratitude. Just very simple. Something you're grateful for today. Imposter syndrome tells us we're not grateful for stuff. We're fighting that. We're ending that right now. So number 1, something you're grateful for. Number 2, a failure you had or a mistake you made that day. We're getting it out there. Mistakes are necessary. Failures are necessary. The only other option is staying at home or maybe going to Costco for free samples, which is pretty sweet. Or DQ for free ice cream cone. That's awesome too. But you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve going to Costco or DQ. Well, maybe. I don't know what your goals are. But anyway, second, we are making mistakes and failures normal. They're not going to be huge, big monsters anymore. We're making them normal. So write down a mistake or failure you made that day. Third, write down something funny that happened that day. Just something that made you laugh. Because when you go back through it and look at your journal, which you inevitably will do, you're going to laugh at all the funny things and they'll add some memories and some levity to life. Because isn't that what it's all about anyways? So what you're going to do is you're going to be grateful for something. Talk about the inevitable mistakes that you need to happen, but they're normal. And last, you're going to have a good laugh or at least a good smile, maybe a about it. and you're going to feel good. That's the way that you beat imposter syndrome. You take it from different viewpoints. You put action plans in place and you tell your brain, listen here, brain. I know you think that we're a fraud. I know you think that we can't do this, but we can. And I'm going to show you, punk. So that's how you do it. I'm Chris Schwagel, CEO and founder of Infinite Skies. We do performance psychology for real estate syndicators. We help you burn bright and not burn out. It's amazing what you're capable of if you get rid of your limiting beliefs. It can really do anything. It's amazing. So I hope that this was helpful. See you next week. Next week, we're going to have a very special guest on this show because of spring break. So you'll see myself and Lou next time. All right. You guys take care. Beat that imposter syndrome. Tell that punk no more. And if you need someone in your corner, hit me up. See ya.